A lot of these right-wingers, a lot of these reactionaries, and even liberals who claim to care about the First Amendment were running around doing victory laps where yet another country is basically violating the fundamentals here, violating the fundamentals of liberal democracy. It's been an interesting month so far. Just a bunch of annoying things that I'm on the receiving end of. For those of you who are just tuning in, Britain denies entry to 2 U.S. commentators who denounced Israel. The authorities did not say why they had barred Cenk Uygur and Hassan Piker of popular social media channels, but said their presence may not be conducive to the public good. Yeah, and that's where we're at. Britain said on Monday that it blocked entry to 2 prominent American commentators, Cenk Uygur and Hassan Piker, because of their potential risk to British society, a decision that came amid debate about the limits of free speech in the country. Mr. Uygur and Mr. Piker, 2 progressive activists with popular social media channels, were set to speak at events in Britain this week. Both expressed outrage on social media and accused the British authorities of canceling their travel authorizations because of their vocal criticisms of Israel.
Cenk Uygur and Hassan Piker said today that they had been blocked because of their views about Israel. They had been scheduled to speak at the London edition of the South by Southwest Festival and at the University of Oxford. In a statement, the British Interior Ministry said that travel authorization had been cancelled because, quote, their presence in the UK may not be conducive to public good, unquote.
Britain has blocked Cenk Uygur, a left-wing Turkish-American media personality, and his nephew Hassan Piker, a U.S. left-wing commentator and influencer, from entering the country to speak at events. Both say Cenk and his whole family were supposed to be flying out to the UK. I was supposed to do an event there as well. And then I also had another event with Yanis Varoufakis. And I also had another event at Oxford Union. I was also supposed to do a talk with Corbyn and a talk with Zach Polanski as well. Totally separate, right? Obviously, there's no First Amendment in the UK, but there is obviously an important liberal value. This is an important liberal value to ensure that there are real conversations taking place. England has quite literally offered refuge to some of the most important thinkers, some of the most controversial thinkers, if you want to call them controversial. Karl Marx. Like, think about that. From the president of the Oxford Union, Arwa El Reyes, the Oxford Union intended to host Cenk Uygur and Hassan Piker on the 6th of June for a discussion and head-to-head event with our members. We are deeply concerned by the revocation of both speakers' electronic travel authorizations on the basis that their appearances would not be conducive to the public good. Are conducive to the public good. These events have been publicly announced for months. The 11th hour call signals much more than democratic decline. It is a direct threat to free expression. The Oxford Union was founded on one principle: the ideas are challenged through debate, not silenced by decree. We have never turned a speaker away because of their political beliefs, nor have we sought a permission slip from the state. We will not start now. This event will not be canceled. The union will ensure this discussion takes place. Free speech does not require a visa. We will update our members shortly. This is supposed to be the most redeemable aspect of the Western world in general, okay? Western liberalism in general. This is one of the fundamental values. It's this and due process. And we are eroding both. Free speech and due process are the 2 most important liberal concepts that throughout centuries at this point, liberals have tried to maintain and defend in spite of everything else, okay? These are core principles, and they're not just core principles that are historically progressive principles. These are core principles that I believe myself, okay? I don't say I'm not a liberal, but this core principle of liberal society, liberal democracy, is one that I believe and champion. It's unironically one of my criticisms of other more ideologically close versions of governance that I have criticized, whether it be within the USSR or whether it be in China, the People's Republic of China. These are my criticisms of the People's Republic of China or the USSR. Ironically enough, that they don't have these sorts of, they don't abide by the same attitude when it comes to, defending free speech. The UK has had a very long commitment, or at least tried to abide by some semblance of a commitment to these fundamental values, right? And the fact that they're dropping the ball in this spectacular manner at the behest of Israel, nonetheless, the fact that they're doing all of this is a disaster. Any sincere person that looks at the situation that isn't totally lost, totally hysterical, will very quickly recognize that this is not this is simply being done because of my criticisms of Israel and Cenk's criticisms of Israel. This is how the Western liberal capitalist democracies fall apart. Illiberalism or post-liberalism, whatever you want to call it, is here, okay? It's happening in the United States of America, where we at least have more stringent rules and more significant protections as far as like free speech goes, constitutionally protected right. So obviously on that front, it's a little bit more difficult, but the American government is clearly trying to do everything in its power to silence dissidents, myself included, obviously. The other thing that I find quite interesting, like I said, they have proven J.D. Vance to be correct. Okay, not that J.D. Vance was being sincere, but they've proven that he is correct, that J.D. Vance warns against the UK going down a dark path of losing free speech during meeting with David Lammy. J.D. Vance quite literally said, we're going to you guys up if you keep doing this like anti-free speech shit, which of course my government is not going to care about the British government doing this to me, because they meant like right-wingers, right? They didn't mean communists. They didn't mean socialists. They didn't mean certainly anti-Zionist. They love when that happens. It's all free speech only goes in one direction. However, there was some truth to what they were doing, and we've been fighting this. We here have been fighting the British government's ridiculous free expression violations for the last couple of years. And of course, the British government, instead of listening to the demands being made by the masses, have decided to increase the repression. Aaron Bastani said, Britain at the height of its power and prestige was home to Karl Marx and Giuseppe Mazzini. It was a refuge for Alexander Herzen and Victor Hugo. Now in 2026, it won't allow American YouTubers and streamers to enter because they criticized Israel. The establishment used to at least pretend to have read and agree with J.S. Mill and stuff, all gone now. That you can criticize the British government, you can criticize the American government all day, every day, but you can't criticize the Israeli government. That's what's so fucking crazy. That these countries are literally saying, no, it's fine if you shit on me. All of that stuff is fine. But God forbid you fucking criticize the nation state of Israel. Then it's over. It's all over. You can't. If there was a referendum tomorrow on issues such as this one, where you're like, do you think it's okay to, bar people entry into the country because they've criticized Israel? They'd be like, no, of course not. Same in America, and certainly the same in Israel. There'd be probably, 30% of the public that would be on board with it? 30% reactionaries, 30% fascists? This is a severe violation. I have to combat reactionaries of all different sorts. But then on top of that, I have to combat stupidity in a society that refuses to be smart. And it's getting to be impossible, I think, especially with LLMs, especially with AI, especially with the crisis of illiteracy in the Western world. It's becoming virtually impossible to try to shake people out of this drunken stupor that they find themselves in, where people are just like, you know who my number one op is, dude? A guy who wants me to have fucking healthcare, a guy who wants me to have more autonomy in the workplace, a guy who says no more wars, a guy who I would probably agree with on virtually 99% of issues, but I've been geared into believing is a bad person.